Welcome to United We Spay, the show dedicated to promoting affordable spay-neuter services nationwide. Each episode delves into the heart of the movement, sharing inspiring stories and driving positive change. Our goal is to raise awareness, educate, and empower, addressing overpopulation's root causes to ensure every animal has a chance for a better life. Hosted by Stacy LeBaron and the United Spay Alliance team, we're on a mission to change lives. Fed up with the fixation on symptoms in the animal welfare conversation, it's time to change the narrative. Join us on United We Spay, where we make a difference by spreading knowledge and building a compassionate world for animals. Let's put prevention first and spotlight spay-neuter in the animal welfare space.
You're listening to United We Spay, a podcast from United Spay Alliance. United Spay Alliance works to promote accessible, affordable, and timely spay-neuter services because an ounce of prevention today can prevent untold suffering tomorrow. Spay-neuter, it's public health for pets. I am Brianna Lovell-Myers, the Administrative Director for United Spay Alliance, and for today, host of the show. If you've tuned into episodes of our show before, then you're probably aware that I am not the voice that you are used to hearing. And that's because today we've decided to shake things up a bit. We're turning the tables on our beloved host, Miss Stacy LeBaron, and putting her into the guest seat. And so today I will endeavor to fill her inquisitive shoes and keep the conversation flowing, while we all get to learn a little bit more about the incredible work she has done to support spay and neuter and so many other initiatives. And so at the top of the show here, I do want to take just a moment to say how thrilled I am to have this chance to share more of Stacy with all of you out there listening. This episode was my idea because I've had the pleasure of working closely with Stacy for the past 4 years at this point. And I am still inspired by her commitment and her dedication and the work that she is doing every single day to help not just United Spay Alliance, but so many organizations out there. And we are just incredibly grateful to her. So without further ado, I am going to read Stacy's bio for you all because you need to hear it. Stacy LeBaron has been involved in animal welfare for over 30 years and considers herself a feline entrepreneur. I love it. Stacy currently hosts a weekly podcast called Community Cats Podcast, where she interviews nationally and internationally renowned experts helping with the problem of cat overpopulation and cat welfare. She has recorded over 500 episodes, folks. So in addition to the podcast itself, Stacy is committed to the model of virtual education by holding 3 weekend conferences, the Online Cat Conference, the Online Kitten Conference, and of course, our very own collaboration, the United Spay Alliance Online Conference. She also hosts day-long sessions covering specific topics around feline leukemia and behavior. The Community Cats Podcast hosts 3 certification programs covering the topics of trap-neuter-return, surrender prevention, and return to home. Additionally, the Community Cats Podcast founded the Community Cats Grants Program, helping small grassroots organizations learn fundraising skills to raise the desperately needed funds for spay-neuter surgeries, with a matching grant opportunity provided by the Community Cats Grants Program. As of this recording, and I updated this number for you, Stacy, the Grants Program has assisted over 320 groups and is now a part of the United Spay Alliance. So we are very proud of that program. And if you are a grant graduate out there listening, I'm giving you a little thumbs up here while we're recording. Stacy's mission is to encourage folks to turn their passion for cats into action. In addition to her role at Community Cats Podcast, she is a partner of the Community Cat Clinic in Woodstock and Duluth, Georgia, president of Positive Pantry in Vermont and Massachusetts, treasurer at the Vermont Humane Federation, treasurer for the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society, treasurer at Community Cat Champions, and our favorite, treasurer and director of strategy at the United Spay Alliance. Stacy is a past board member of Massachusetts Animal Coalition and the New England Federation of Humane Societies. She serves as the current administrative trustee for the LeBaron Foundation, Previous to starting Community Cats podcast, Stacy served for 16 years as president of the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society. There she is, folks. Hello, Stacy. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and I'm very excited to hear your toughest questions.
Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation today, and I hope everyone else can get a glimpse of the Stacy that I have the privilege of working with every day. So for folks who do know you from the Community Cats podcast, they may have heard some of this conversation before. But honestly, I'm wondering if your answers are going to be maybe a little bit different when they're spay-neuter focused rather than just community cat focused. So I'll start with a question that we definitely took right from your Community Cats podcast model and adapted it. Why are you passionate about spay-neuter? Is there a single animal or story that stands out to you?
So I will share a story, and some of you have heard this story before. Back in the 1990s, I started in animal welfare, helping cats back in 1994. And in that period of time, we were a very small organization in Newburyport, Massachusetts. We had 300 cats living on the waterfront. But when I got involved by 1994, the group had been doing trap-neuter-return for about 2 years. They'd established feeding stations down in that area. So they had a good system going. They were working on getting the population under control in that area. And obviously the discovery of trap-neuter-return, which is what I figured everybody did. I was new. I thought everybody did trap-neuter-return. That's just what you did when you had cats hanging out behind your restaurant. That's just what you did. And then I was asked to go up and visit a bar in a town right across the border in New Hampshire from Massachusetts. And I went and they said, we've got some kittens living in a dumpster. They don't look so good. Let's go check it out. And I went to that dumpster and there was like 30 to 35 kittens there, and they all had runny, goopy eyes. And I could look in the woods and I saw the adult cats kind of peeking around the corner at me saying, "What are you doing?" Tons of smashed beer bottles all over the place, and the kittens were walking all over. The short answer to that story is we trapped those kittens, about 35 of them. Every one of them lost at least one eye. They were all spayed and neutered. They all got socialized. They all got adopted. There were a couple that lost both eyes. And I looked at that scene, at that dumpster, and I'm like, you know what? We don't need to see this. No one needs to see this. And these kittens really don't need to be here. And so we also trapped all the adults, and that colony attritioned away so that there were no more community cats over time because we monitored the situation. But it got me thinking, because here were the kittens living in the dumpster. The cats were out in the woods. Well, if you kept walking through those woods, there was an apartment complex there. And so I'm like, well, where did mom and dad come from? Adam and Eve. Why are they here? What happened to cause this? And I'm like, the apartment building. People have cats in the apartments and they're not spayed and neutered. And then it goes from there. So that was really my aha moment as to what the root cause of our cat overpopulation situation is. It's owned cats that are not spayed or neutered that end up getting released outside, either by abandonment or just becoming indoor-outdoor cats. And they're having their kittens. And then that's how feral cat colonies develop. That's how the whole process gets going. And so that was really where I was like, oh, we're going to go over to that apartment building now. We're going to put flyers up over there and we're going to help them get spay-neuter appointments. But I didn't have a spay-neuter program to send them to. And so that was how I got passionate about creating spay-neuter capacity, was going over there. And I said, I've got to be able to spay-neuter anybody's pet in that building that needs to get spayed or neutered, any cat. And at that point in time, I had very limited opportunity for that. And so it was the bulb that went off in my head to say, I got to figure something out.
And that was the Stacy LeBaron origin story. And from there, we have evolved. But I mean, from there, you really have done a lot of incredible things. I mean, MRFRS, you were there 16 years, and then you took all of that knowledge and all the work that you did, and then you continued having, I should say, conversations with folks. And those conversations turned into the Community Cats podcast, which started as a podcast and is now really, it's an education powerhouse, in my opinion, for all things. And when we say community cat, something I have learned from you is that it's not just, because I kind of came up calling community cat, well, those are how we refer to outdoor cats. But I think when you use the term community cats, it's all cats in the community, because whether they're inside or outside, they're all part of that community ecosystem. And that's something I think I've learned from you.
Yeah, any cat that is within the community. I dream of a world where we are humane to all of our cats in the community, regardless of where they are, who they are, what they do, where they live. Any cat that is in your community should have access to the services and care that they need, regardless of who their guardian is, who their feeder is, who their owner is. If they're an indoor only cat, if they are indoor, outdoor, community cats in general, from my perspective, are, four paws on the ground outside. But I also do feel like we have a level of obligation for those indoor cats also, because there is the potential those indoor cats can become indoor, outdoor, or outdoor cats. If you have an unneutered male cat, that cat's not going to be indoor only for long. And so I want to ensure that Adam and Eve never get abandoned or never get pushed outside, unspayed or neutered, that they are provided for and they're spayed and neutered, and then they get to be, happily entertained. And my biggest worry for them is doing feline enrichment in their home. And that would be the next step of ensuring that their behavior in the house is good and viable, and understanding that you can provide for a cat in an indoor situation. I'm not 100% of an advocate for indoor, outdoor, but I am for a environment where cats are fully enriched.
And so you've done a lot of work in the cat space and seemingly, championing that community cat conversation, but you have been instrumental to the work of United Spay Alliance in all animals, owned, unowned. And so I was wondering if you could speak to, how you made that transition or how the connection came to be there for you between Community Cats Podcast and United Spay Alliance.
Yeah. So obviously spay neuter is critically important to me. I helped start our mobile spay neuter clinics at the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society. They're called the Catmobile. I had a dream of having these mobile clinics in 1998. It took me 10 years to get enough resources and funding to launch that first mobile clinic. And then they just surpassed over 75,000 cats have been assisted through that mobile spay neuter program. So I've always been an advocate of access to spay neuter care. Over the last 6 years or so, the access to funding for spay neuter for clinics has been extremely compromised, and the growth of clinics that are out there that can offer affordable spay neuter services for cats and for dogs has been extremely limited. And during the pandemic, many of these organizations closed. We were really riding some fun times back there when we were trying to make as many low-cost spay neuter clinics as possible out there. Mobile, stationary, all different types, MASH style clinics. It was really the heyday. At one point in time, on any given Sunday in Massachusetts, if someone had a cat in a trap and they were willing to drive an hour or two, there'd be a free spay neuter clinic for that feral cat or that community cat. And those days are over. Those days are not happening. There's one organization doing it one Sunday a month, which is something, but it's not what we were doing before. And so we are sliding behind all across the country. We're sliding behind on this population capacity that we need. Now with the dogs, I'm a cat person, right? And we're seeing all of these challenges, especially with large dogs and shelters coming into adoption centers. And I have to believe that getting them spayed or neutered at appropriate age would help solve some of their behavior issues. And I'm no expert in the field, but I do believe that a large dog getting spayed or neutered at a year or 18 months is not as beneficial as getting that dog spayed or neutered at 5 to 6 months. And so I just felt like something was wrong. Something was falling apart in our spay neuter advocacy realm across the nation. And so I reached out to Esther Meckler. I was the spay mass leader for years when United Spay Alliance first started. And I reached out to see what was going on. And it had been a quiet period for the United Spay Alliance, and we just decided to kind of pick it up and see what we could make of it. And Bree, we brought you into the fold, and it's just been magical since that period of time. We need more voices. We need the grassroots groups to move forward, to stand up, and to create more spay-neuter capacity. It's not going to happen by anybody else. It's got to come from us. I'm encouraging the community cat groups to start their own MASH clinics, to start their own veterinary access resources, grow their own capacity, because it's not going to come to us from anywhere else. But United Spay Alliance is there for the little guy and the larger organizations, but it's there to grow that spay-neuter capacity.
And you have been instrumental, I would say, to United Spay Alliance with that kind of big picture, the strategy component, our director of strategy, or your official title, I think. And because you do have this great way of visioning, some of us are doers, like myself. I love a checklist. I love a to-do list. And some people are gifted in like the big picture strategy. And so, I mean, like you were saying, we keep hearing that, access to spay neuter just isn't what it used to be. And I've recently started asking folks, do you think it's better or worse as compared to this time last year? And I'm unfortunately hearing that it's worse, that we are still kind of in that backslide. And so I'm wondering, with your director of strategy hat on, if you have any thoughts toward what people can be doing right now as far as increasing capacity in their own community.
Yeah, so it really does take a pretty substantial analysis of your local area to see what's going on. So you need to be able to do a needs assessment and identify the resources that you do have available to yourself, to the organizations in the region. So what do you have and what can you maximize? So, is there a clinic there that only operates 2 or 3 days a week? And can you get a per diem vet in? I know several organizations that have been working with some temporary placement firms for veterinarians. And so I think the spay neuter space is great for a veterinarian that might want to only work 1 or 2 days a week, or might only want to do spay neuter, high quality, high volume spay neuter 1 or 2 days a week, and work with them on a relief vet or per diem basis, trying to think outside of the box and create some individual opportunities, identify your population, and try and set some goals as to the number of animals that you want to get spayed or neutered in a certain period of time, and then build your capacity towards that goal. At the Community Cats podcast, we've launched the Community Cat Calculator, which is sort of a drill down off of our Community Cat Pyramid. Our Community Cat Pyramid talks about how important it is to get spay neuter at that owned population level. And then now the Community Cat Calculator will drill you down to get to some specific number goals. How many cats in the owned community do you need to reach on an annual basis? How many cats do you strive for trap-neuter-return? Many people think that the trap-neuter-return numbers are all of the cats that they trap, but in general, 30 to 50% of the cats you trap in trap-neuter-return end up coming into a rescue pathway. And so you do end up reducing that cat population anywhere from 30 to 50% automatically, because you're pulling kittens, you're pulling some known friendlies that may be abandoned, and please use your paper collar to determine whether or not that cat is owned or not owned. Do your due diligence before you scoop the cat up. But, really trying to get some numbers. Then you can go and advocate to your grant resources, to the public facility, your municipal areas. We need to do 20,000 spay neuter surgeries here that are affordable and accessible. How do we make that happen, and how do we build that? So it's getting collaborative groups working together, and then we identify these are our mutual gaps, and we need to fill them if we feel like we're going to be able to be successful.
And so you have plenty of experience starting spay neuter clinics. You talked about starting the Catmobile. I know that you work with the Community Cat Clinic in Georgia, which is another kind of veterinary model, not just spay neuter. So I'm wondering if anyone out there is saying, oh, well, increasing spay neuter capacity, how about I just open a spay neuter clinic? If someone is on that pathway, what advice do you have for them as far as especially strategy and sustainability go?
Yeah, so it's totally possible to operate a sustainable spay neuter clinic. that offers other services. I do think that you need to have a business sense and being able to put together an appropriate business plan to understand your staffing load. In general, it does take between 12 to 24 months to get to break even with most traditionally formed vet practices. There are other models where you can get to break even sooner than that. So with the Catmobile, we were breaking even within 3 months. But the demand was huge. People were lining up. They were connected to us. So we were able to get the feline fannies and bellies in the bus, we'll put it that way, pretty quickly. So again, I would look at your community and say, what's the critical need right now? And if it is spay neuter, then focus on a sustainable business model that will support spay neuter, but allow flexibility in your model so that if you wanted to add a dental component, which is usually the second layer of greatest demand, or urgent care services that are affordable, then that's another component. Your margins are usually larger in those areas. And with the community cat clinic, one of our main goals was to not have any economic euthanasia. And since we've been open, we have not had to euthanize a cat due to anybody's economics.
And can you talk just a little bit about the community cat clinic model? It's an affordable care model. Is that how you describe it?
The way we look at it is it's affordable. So we're not super low cost, but we're also not at the traditional level. So I'd say we're about 50% of what you would say a retail clinic would be. So we're at that level. The other thing is we do have a lot of services to try and help people be able to afford care. So again, we do what's called incremental care. And so if somebody's going to have challenges paying, we're going to try and look and see what we can do that's best for the cat, best for the family, and make a treatment plan that works for all. And, in some cases, maybe it's try the cat on an antibiotic rather than doing intense testing right away and see if the cat responds to that. And then we bring the cat back if the cat needs further testing and continue the conversation there. So it's really a situation where we're having an open conversation with the cat owner and obviously doing what's best for the cat, but it's not like we're going to be offering gold standard all the time. We can do gold standard, but we aren't doing it 100% of the time. So that's what incremental care is all about. The clinic is also designed in a way to respect all cats. So we have a TNR room in the back so that trappers can bring cats in. There's a keypad. And trappers can bring their cats in at 2:00 in the morning so they don't have to have a holding space at their home. They can trap the cats. They can bring them right in. They can leave them in the room in the back. And then they will get spayed or neutered. And then the folks can come pick them up after they've been there for 24 hours. And then they can be released. Because in many communities, having a holding space is really challenging. And also in many communities, veterinarians don't even really know how to deal with cats in traps, and they end up sitting on the hall in the back in a strange place. And so we have them in their own special room. It's quiet, it's dark. Some people put cat music on in there, whatever cat music means. But we try to design the facility to deal with trap-neuter-return cats, as well as we also do iodine treatment for cats too that have thyroid issues, and we do ultrasounds and we do full mouth extraction. So we go up and we do these higher end services or the more expensive services, but we're also very involved in spay neuter as well as trap neuter return. So we want to provide services for all type of cat, and that's the one thing I feel like the general veterinary practice world has not embraced, which is we have different types of cats and we want to be able to handle them all in an affordable way and also be able to work and negotiate with our community members to make it work. So it's very intriguing. We have 3 veterinarians, 5 exam rooms, and we do a lot of surgery between the dental requests as well as the spay neuter requests. We do a lot.
And if I know you, then I know that it is also still built to be profitable. You don't have to lose money just doing this kind of work. You can still have a sustainable business model, something that's going to be around and pay for itself, right?
Yeah, so it takes time to get to the break-even point, but the desire is that we are going to be profitable, and Our desire is to make it a model that will be able to be replicated all across the country. It will have to be tweaked if you want it to be in a rural area versus being in the middle of a city, something like that. Obviously, the design would have to be adjusted. But I mean, if I had my dream, this would be like the fast food restaurant of cat veterinary care is really the way we want to do it. It's a very technician run program too. The technician acts as the case manager, and then the veterinarian is more the specialist. And that helps us to be able to work in some more efficiencies in our systems too.
And that has been, I'm sure, very successful. You have 2 locations now, right? You opened the first, and I saw a second location in the mix. That's very exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, don't feel like you have to be all things to all people right when you open up at the beginning. I would say with any new business, try and phase yourself up strategically and slowly and grow organically. Let the community get to know you. And just take your time with it. It's a marathon. I say that every other day. It's a marathon. Just take it slow, be strategic. Don't feel like you have to be all things to all people right away. Even if you open up a clinic and you say, I'm just focusing on this county or this town right away. I know people will be upset with you from other parts and they're going to go, why are you saying no to us? But you don't want to overwhelm and burn out your staff right away. And you want to be strategic in how you're getting your systems up and running. So that, I guess, is one piece of advice that I would give is just be careful and do what's best for your business before trying to serve everybody out there in the community.
I'm going to pivot just slightly because you did mention the idea of burnout. And we have talked about your longevity in this space. But, I'm sure that wearing so many hats and doing this work for so long, it doesn't come without challenges. So I'm always asking, what are your tips for staying in this space when we do see that, spay neuter is backsliding? We do see so many things feel like they are spiraling beyond our control, and I'm just one person, and what can I do? And so how do we kind of protect ourselves, and any advice for folks who feel like they're juggling too much and they're just burning out?
I never feel like I'm one person. So, I mean, that's the first thing that you have to pull out is don't feel like you're all alone and don't feel like you're the only person. I feel like we are part of this tremendous community of feline entrepreneurs. I mean, we all are feline entrepreneurs. We're all out there trying to help people, trying to help cats and trying to do best we can. And, whether we're helping 5 cats and also we're helping dogs. So maybe I'm a dog entrepreneur too. I don't know. So it's one of those things where I don't feel alone and isolated. I feel frustrated. Emotionally, I get impacted. When I was hands-on at the adoption center, I worried a lot about the cats that were there under our care, especially the older ones and the sick ones. And it took a toll on me. And I had to take a break away from that. And, I had to leave that because I was also caring for my mother who had severe dementia at the time. I couldn't do both. I just couldn't. I couldn't emotionally do both. It was just wearing me out too much. And so I had to make a choice to leave the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society for about 6 or 7 years. I was not on their board. I just had to go and devote time to my family. So we have to realize that, again, it's a marathon and we have to be able to break away. I actually think we should have sabbaticals in this world. My sabbaticals were timed along with when I had my kids, but it was funny because I enjoyed those times where I took a break and then I came back with a different perspective. And so it's good to break away, and we shouldn't expect everybody to be doing this 365 days a year. I play tennis as a way to get a break and get away from things. And in the professional tennis world, they're all bickering because they think that the season is too long. They want an off season like you have in baseball. Or I'm like, hey, where's our off season, right? Where do we have our spay neuter off season? So just trying to think outside of the box. Maybe you bring a different team in. Maybe you rotate people around. But I do think it's very healthy for us to try and look at some systems that might be in place elsewhere and where does it work for us. We do need to rest, recharge, and rejuvenate. And Bree does know I have a very hard time of breaking away from the phone and the email and that kind of stuff. but I do have a lot of fun and experiences, and I get away, and I have a light switch mind, which can turn things on and off. But if you're the type of person that needs to decompress for a day and then you start feeling like you've relaxed, then do what you need to do. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. And I think it gives people permission to step away when they are feeling overwhelmed. Like if you're starting to approach your work feeling more like a grumpy cat than rejuvenated and ready to tackle it, if you're feeling yourself drift into that negative space, it's okay to step away. In the end, the cause will be better served for it, when you can come back refreshed, right?
Right. And I've always said your thoughts and what comes out of your mouth and what goes onto an email and what goes into a text at any given time, that's going to be on the front page of a newspaper somewhere. It's going to be on Facebook or it's going to be somewhere. So if you feel like you're not able to put something out there that's appropriate, then you need to pull away and step back.
And it is okay to give yourself that permission. And so we've had a lot of great conversations, but there's just one other thing I want to touch on because it's something I have learned from you, and that's this idea of collaboration. And I think it kind of ties into what we're talking about how we're never really alone. And I have learned that it's not a competition. We're not all out there trying to beat one another. None of us are going to solve spay and neuter on our own, right? No, it's not a race. There is plenty of money to go around. There's plenty of animals for us all to serve. And so I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to the mentoring that you do, to the emphasis on building networks, relationships. I mean, the whole idea of the podcast started with just trying to share the conversations that you were having so more people would have access to them, right?
Yeah. So near the end of my tenure with the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society, I was working with PetSmart Charities and Brian Cordes when he was there. And we had a mentoring program that we worked on together. So we had very successful results with that, working with organizations to help them establish trap-neuter-return programs within their organizations and also get sort of PetSmart application ready grant writing and stuff. And that was really fun and successful. I think we ended up assisting about 12,000 cats in a couple of years and using that program. And one of our first graduates is now the president of the Animal Rescue League of Boston. And so many of our graduates have actually gone through the ranks and become executive positions within humane societies and other nonprofits, which I'm really proud of, because it means maybe they've learned some of the progressive thought they've then taken into the leadership of that organization. Collaboration has always been at the forefront of where I've been, because I don't want to duplicate efforts, but I want to be able to provide support. And so many organizations, when I was doing intakes into the adoption program, individuals would call me up from towns that were doing a lot of trap-neuter-return. They'd call me up and say, Stacy, can't you get me an adoption program over here, just like what you're doing over there? And I'm like, this is exhausting, this adoption program stuff. It's hard. And they said, it's so expensive getting spay and neuter. And this is in the 90s. And so it was $125 for a spay back then in the 90s. Now in the Boston area, it's $1,200. But anyway, I said, well, how about I get you some free spay neuter for those feral cats that are outside, when they were having 10 and 20 cats out in the backyard. So they thought that was great. And that's when we started our Sunday spay and neuter clinics we called them for feral cats back then, which now community cats. But they then started their own nonprofit for that town. And I think we've had about a half dozen organizations that have spun off of MRFRS to create their own groups and have learned from us. And we actually had some healthy competition sometimes from the other organizations in Massachusetts as to how many community cats we could get spayed or neutered. And so we kind of played a game about it. We made it fun to try and do that. And so it's okay to compete against one another, but do it in a way that is with a healthy and happy spirit and communicate. Now, I will say, in Massachusetts, we have the Massachusetts Animal Coalition, which started also around 2000. And it really did help bring a lot of us together that were very different, and so that we could develop a really good conversation and relationship. I was just talking to a member yesterday, and I'm like, wow, we've known each other for 25 years, and so that's just an example of sort of lifelong relationships that are developed. And now we have these relationships all across the country. Going back to the podcast. So I had 400 groups on my wait list wanting to come in and be part of this mentoring program. And I didn't want to leave them behind. And so I created the podcast as a way to at least give them some information to be able to inspire them to create trap-neuter-return programs, thinking, oh, there's going to be a spay-neuter clinic everywhere. And now I'm trying to encourage community cat programs to start their own spay-neuter programs.
And I think you have and certainly inspired a lot of folks along the way. And I know that United Spay Alliance has benefited from that direction as well. And that the Community Cats Grants Program has certainly been one of those brain trusts from you as well. So as we wrap up here, I do want to ask if folks take just one thing away from our conversation today, what should it be?
Just do it. Even if you think you can't, give it a try. And don't be afraid to fail. I mean, I've tried a lot of things that haven't worked, and it's okay to close a program down. I have shut down a sanctuary. We used to have a sanctuary. I have closed a sanctuary down. We had a program called Perfect Companions, which matched elder people with cats, and we had a volunteer that would be like buddied with them. And we were not emotionally prepared for some of the changes that happened with the older folks. And so we had to close some things down. We've had probably as many programs that have been successful. The skill, I guess, is being able to see what's working and then what's not working and being willing to make that change. So you do have to be kind of strong to make those choices and to help advocate one way or the other. But give it a go. Do a small pilot program. Try a spay-neuter initiative 1 day a month, 1 day a quarter. We had private practice vets in the 90s that they did 2 days a year where they just devoted to spay-neuter, and that was it. But they would do 110 animals on those days. And you know what? If that's what they can do, accept it, embrace it, and help them be successful at it.
How can people find you, Stacy? What's the best way to get in touch?
Lots of ways to find me. You'll hear my voice on United We Spay. So please subscribe to the podcast at United We Spay. You can also subscribe to the Community Cats podcast. My email is Stacy, Stacy, at UnitedSpayAlliance.org. And obviously, Bree always knows how to find me.
Just get in touch with me. I'll track her down for y'all. All right, Stacy, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up here?
I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and for being part of the solution. And please don't be shy. We have some incredible resources. And I'm so proud of the website. You can watch video of surgery of the high quality, high volume spay neuter techniques on our website. And the neutering video goes by in a flash. But please check out those resources. And then you can see just actually how really easy and obvious high quality, high volume spay neuter is.
Doesn't have to be hard, right? Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone out there for listening. If you liked this episode, be sure to share and subscribe. We release a new episode every month, digging into important conversations surrounding spay neuter throughout the United States and around the world. Find more resources for spay neuter and learn more about our work at UnitedSpayAlliance.org. That's UnitedSpayAlliance.org. Get in touch with us anytime by emailing info@UnitedSpayAlliance, and that's info@UnitedSpayAlliance.org. Until next time.